Okay, if you go upstairs, sit down. You do have a yes. That's fine, that's fine. Keep your hands up if you haven't. I'm really sorry.
And by the way, that's just for funny purposes. If you're from the community, more than welcome, so you don't have to be an SSU student. It's a shadow.
Is the mic not working?
How do I even drop? Is it on?
Now try it.
Warning. Warning. You know?
Hello? 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 Hello, hello? Maybe it's on. Oh, there we go. You gotta be smarter than the mic. Is that good enough? Can everybody hear me in the back? Okay. Yeah?
Well, I think it's roughly 7 o'clock, so let's begin. Oh, by the way, if you should see a toad hopping around with a human face, somebody tore down some of my sorcery announcements. So that's what happens to me when you do that. Now, tonight, we'll be discussing forbidden knowledge and occult secrets. But I want to start with a warning. Do not practice these spells. As Dorian Gray discovered in the Oscar Wilde story, literally the practice of evil will destroy you. Now beware of anyone with a red fingernail. That means he's a follower of Satan. Also, if you cannot see your own reflection in someone's eyes, be afraid you're talking to a sorcerer. The greatest of all sorcerers, strangely enough according to legend, is the product of incest, specifically the child of a mother who copulated with her own son. To gain magic power, spend a night with the corpse of a renowned sorcerer. Another way to gain magic power, this is from India, at midnight, go to a cemetery, a burning ground for corpses, or a place where criminals have been executed. While seated on a corpse, meditate. If you can do this without fear, ghosts and female demons will become your slaves, and they will do what you command. Perhaps one of the most infamous of secret societies is the Red Sect, a group of sorcerers within voodoo. To be initiated into the Red Sect, the neophyte must drink human blood and must ritually murder a loved one. The sacrificial victim is called the goat without horns. The most famous member of the Red Sect was Francois Duvalier, elected president of Haiti in 1957. He ruled as dictator until his death in 1971. Although trained as a medical doctor, Duvalier was a great sorcerer. To predict the future, he kept a mummified human head in his presidential desk. In his most famous act of sorcery, Duvalier issued a death hex on President John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1962, in front of innumerable witnesses. Exactly 1 year later, on November 22nd, 1963, Kennedy was killed. To increase your magical power, follow the instructions of Aleister Crowley, the infamous occultist. He said, learning to speak backwards or in code is a path to spiritual mastery. Now, magic, according to legend, confers great power. The magician can confer immortality, invulnerability, the power of flight, or the faculty of prophecy. Also with magic, the sorcerer can shapeshift into animal forms. He can turn men into pigs and create beautiful women from flowers. Now there's two basic ideas in magic. One, imitative magic, or like causes like. According to imitative magic, there's an occult connection between two things that resemble one another in form or color. If you burn a voodoo doll, you destroy the person it resembles. A second principle of magic is contagious magic. According to this principle, things long connected remain connected over space and time. In other words, if you gain access to someone's hair clippings, nail pairings, clothing. You can hex them. Other principles of magic. In legend, we dance clockwise for worship. To release occult forces, the powers of darkness, dance counterclockwise. Spells must always be recited from memory, never read. Spells must not be translated, for translating spells causes them to lose their power. When conducting a magical ritual, always use a circle. Always stand inside the circle for protection. In a witch's coven, by the way, it's the bodies of the witches that form the circle. When practicing alone, make 3 concentric circles from strips of skin cut from a young goat. The largest circle should be 9 feet in diameter. Between the circles, inscribe the names of God and magical characters. Secure each circle to the floor by nails pulled from the coffin of a dead baby. During magical operations, never leave the circle. Have only gold and silver on you, no other metals. Now, some noted magical herbs. Wolfbane, also called monk's hood. Wolfbane first grew from the vomit of the 3-headed dog that guards hell. Wolfbane is used in shape-shifting magic. Belladonna, also called deadly nightshade, is a poisonous substance used in dark magical acts. It's used in astral projection, sending your soul elsewhere. Henbane is used in mysterious witch's ointment. Foxglove, this is used in love spells. Oddly today, foxglove is the source of the heart drug digitalis. Mandrake, probably the most evil of them all, called devil's testicles by the Arabs, has the power over the creatures of darkness. It's mentioned in chapter 30 in Genesis. By the way, at night, sometimes the fruit of mandrake berries will phosphoresce or emit light. According to legend, the first mandrake grew from the semen which fell from a hanged man. Difficult to harvest, it allegedly screams when it's pulled from the earth, and magicians will use trained dogs to uproot it. This is referred to in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, chapter 4, verse 3. Now, there are many forbidden books used in magic. One king in India had a book which contained this warning. This book is not to be opened or recited, but must be worshipped in a library. When the king's sister opened the book, she was blinded. Very literally, her eyes were burned from her head. In Europe in the 18th century, there were stories of a forbidden book. This would inspire the Lovecraft Necronomicon. Anyone who glanced at the book would raise the devil himself. Now, magical texts are called grimoires. One of the most infamous is the Red Book of Apin. It literally existed in Scotland a century ago. According to legend, it was stolen from the devil himself. The last known owner was from the now extinct Stewarts of Invernahyle in Scotland. Even more infamous was the so-called Agrippa book. One copy was in existence, as all these books are. It was 4 feet tall. All of its pages were in legend made from human skin. The book contained ancient secrets, the names of demons, spells to bring them forth. When not in use, the book had to be kept in chains because of its power. It was so dangerous. Time of spells: the day is the time for religion, night is the time for sorcery. The waxing moon, when the moon is growing larger, is the time for constructive magic. When the moon is getting larger, the horns of the crescent point to the east. Herbs are most potent if gathered at the full moon. The waning moon is for destructive magic. When the moon is waning, the horns of the crescent moon point towards the west. The time of the dark moon, when the moon disappears from the sky, is the time for especially sinister activities. According to tradition, the so-called Ozark witches went through initiations during the time of the dark moon. Saturday, the day of Saturn, is the day of danger and destruction. Tuesday, the day of Mars, is the day of blood. The Arabs say Cain killed Abel on Tuesday, John the Baptist was killed on Tuesday, and Eve had her first menstruation on Tuesday. Now, scrying is a method of divination. Scrying allows you to see the unknown past, your identity in a previous life, the unknown present, the identity of a secret lover, for example, and the unknown future, the lottery number that would win. Scrying always involves peering into a shiny surface. The Aztecs used a piece of obsidian, the so-called smoky mirror. The Tibetans used polished steel. Some people today use mirrors. The best one is framed on 3 sides. Nostradamus, the French physician and astrologer who died in 1566, is perhaps the most famous scryer. He used an ancient Greek technique. At night, alone in his study, he set up a brass tripod with a bowl of water. Using a wand, he touched the tripod and then anointed his robe with a few drops of water. He gazed into the still water until it became cloudy and until he saw visions. The crystal ball, by the way, is a modern variation of this. It was invented in the 18th century. If you use a crystal ball, you must never touch it. This reduces its power. When looking at the crystal ball, pass your right hand over it. This helps the images to appear. Now here's a really elaborate procedure of looking into the unknown information. First, you need to be inside a structure of wood. You must be in a high and solitary place, far from all noise and disturbance. You must dress completely in white. Only your eyes must be visible. The weather must be calm. It must have been calm for 3 days at least. You need 3 vases. The sun must never ever touch these vases. Only moonlight, starlight, candlelight can touch them. 1 vase is made from earthenware, contains oil of myrrh. This is for seeing the unknown past. 1 vase is made of copper, it contains wine. This is for seeing the unknown present. The 3rd vase is made from glass, it contains water for seeing the unknown future. You also need a wand made of poplar wood. Half the wand must be without bark. You must also need a brightly polished dagger and a pumpkin root. Place 2 or more candles in the spaces between the vases. A white cloth must cover the glass vase. Other methods: on Halloween Eve, on New Year's Eve, pour hot wax into water. The shape will answer your questions. Another method, this is used by Joseph in the Old Testament. Make a divining cup by pouring oil and water into a chalice. You read the future in the pattern. Another method, place the roots of wild carrots, also called Queen Anne's lace, under your pillow. Your dream will be, you will dream your future. And another method, this is for young girls only, to see her future love in a dream. A young girl must pick a sprig of the yew tree from a graveyard that she has never visited. If she sleeps with the sprig under her pillow, she will see her future love in a dream. Divination from the Muslim world. This is from Ibn Khaldun, who died in 1406. He calls it detestable sorcery. He said, place a human in a barrel of sesame oil and keep him in the oil for 40 days and 40 nights. Feed the human figs and nuts until his flesh is gone and only arteries and sutures of his skull remain. When he is taken out of the oil and exposed to the drying action of the air, he will answer all questions regarding the future. Some superstitions. If stars are seen by day, a war is coming. Never whistle in the dark, this draws spirits. Never mention a dead person's name until his body has rotted in the grave. Never gamble with a woman in the room unless she is also gambling. Never propose to a woman in a church, it curses the marriage. On your wedding day, enter the church with your right foot first. On the wedding night, the last person to fall asleep lives the longest. If ivy grows profusely on a grave, a woman whose love was scorned is buried there. Some Halloween spells. A Celtic Halloween tradition. A blindfolded male has to choose one of 3 bowls. 1 bowl is empty, 1 has dirty water, and 1 has clean water. If he chooses the first, he will remain unmarried and die alone. If he chooses the third, he will marry a virginal girl. If he chooses the second, he'll marry a Kardashian. Another Hollywood tradition, 2 lovers must throw 2 hazelnuts into a fire. 1 nut symbolizes the man, the other nut symbolizes the woman. If 1 nut jumps out of the flames, that person will be unfaithful. If 1 nut burns, that person will be passionate. If both nuts burn, there will be marriage. If If you're interested in making a human from body parts, read Eleazar of Worms, who lived in the 11th century. So again, the Frankenstein story is relatively new. Also, to make a monster, according to legend, children born or conceived during eclipses will be monsters. Ali, Pope John Paul II, was born during a solar eclipse on May 18, 1920. This is an aphrodisiac to increase sexual desire. Cut and eat the eyelashes of a happily married couple. To suppress sexual desire, eat lettuce. Lettuce, according to the ancient Greeks, is an anaphrodisiac. It suppresses lust. And by the way, that's why medieval nuns used to eat lettuce all the time. How to make a woman amorous. This comes from ancient Egypt. Before sleeping with a woman, a man should rub his genitals with stallion saliva. A love spell. Take a mirror and reflect moonlight in the eyes of a sleeping person. He or she will fall in love with you. A love spell for men only. Buy a small mirror without haggling over the price. Write the name of the woman you desire 3 times on the back of the mirror. Next, find a pair of copulating dogs or cats. Capture the reflection in the mirror. Hide the mirror in a place where she will pass by frequently. Leave the mirror there 9 days. This is interesting. I have an insect on the podium. I must have summoned the devil. If you retrieve the mirror and put it in your pocket, the woman will be drawn to you and be prepared for that Title IX. To keep, this is a tough crowd. To keep your lover forever faithful, with the communion host in your mouth, kiss your beloved. She or he will remain forever faithful. To make a barren wife fertile, a woman should sleep. To become pregnant, a woman should rest nude on her back under the full moon at night. At sunrise, the dew on her body will make her fertile. Oh, by the way, I should throw in, Hollywood always gets that wrong. The full moon is always for positive magic, like the wolf man legends, that's clearly wrong. So again, full moon, positive things. That's why the Spartans always went to war at the time of the full moon. To make a, how to tell if a person's a lecher. If you're followed by dogs, you're a lecher. That's from Albert the Great, medieval theologian. To turn a woman into a hussy, give a woman the blouse or dress of a harlot, and give her a mirror that a prostitute used to look into every day. She will become shameless and lustful. Having trouble flipping my pages here. To jinx someone's wedding, wear green. The brighter green, the better. To make a man impotent, steal some of his pubic hair. While uttering a curse, tie knots in the hair. To make a man blind to his wife's adulteries, a wife must steal copper coins that have been placed on the eyes of a corpse. She must wash those coins in wine. If she gives the husband that wine to drink, he will be blind to her sexual infidelities. To make a person cruel, give him beer mixed with pulverized human bones to drink. A hex spell, take nails from a coffin with a stone hammer, pound the nails into the footprint of an enemy while uttering curses. Cover the nails and the print with graveyard dust. A death rite, dress a corpse in clothing of the victim. Let the corpse rot in some secret place in the forest. The victim will sicken and die. How to be damned: if you point 9 times at the moon, 9 consecutive times, you cannot get into heaven. To enter heaven, according to legend, if you put a stillborn baby in an open grave, the next person buried there is guaranteed heaven. To make a sick person sicker, have a menstruating woman sleep in the room. When a woman is in her fertile time, her presence invigorates. When she is menstruating, her presence weakens. To stay healthy, carry an acorn in your pocket at all times. It preserves health and vitality. To become invisible, Tibetans believe we have the power to become invisible. They believe through years of mental discipline, if you can stop all thought, It will disappear from sight. This is a second method. This is from India. After fasting for 3 nights, obtain under the zodiacal sign of Cancer the skull of a man murdered by a weapon or killed on a gallows. Fill the skull with soil and barley seed. Irrigate the skull pot with the milk of goats and the milk of sheep. When barley grows, make a garland from the shoots. When you wear it, you will walk invisible to among others. Another spell, this is called the Hand of Glory from Europe. They really made them, actually saw one at the British Museum. To make a hand of glory, fashion a candle from the fat of a murdered fetus. Mount the candle on the severed hand of a hanged man. When you light the candle, you will not be seen. To make anything invisible visible, throw dog's blood on it. To turn an animal into a human, let water rest 20 years in a human skull. According to Asian legend, any animal that drinks that water acquires the power to take the human shape it will. In Korean history, they have a legend of a female fox who would become a woman. This is from Native Americans. Among the Sioux, how to see a spirit. Wear only a robe, a loincloth, and moccasins. Take only a knife, a pipe, and tobacco. Go to a high place where there is solitude. Remove every living thing from an area large enough to sit on or lie on. As you enter the prepared space, ask the 4 winds not to bring inclement weather. Once you've entered the prepared space, you must stay there until either you have a vision or you become convinced you have failed. In the space, meditate on your quest. You may invoke gods, spirits, mentally or verbally, either in song or in prayer. You may stand, sit, or lie down. You may be asleep or awake, but you must not leave the space. You may smoke as often as you wish, but you must not eat or drink. The vision will come either when you are awake or asleep. It may appear as any living thing or as an inanimate object. It may be psychic in nature, or it could be a falling star, a sudden storm, a high wind, or a wolf call. If you may speak clearly, but to you, and you may speak to it, but it may use a mysterious language that is only understood by birds or animals. Always, the vision will say or do something to make known that it is the vision that you seek. Regarding werewolves, perhaps the most infamous one was Peter Stubb, executed in 16th century Germany for being a werewolf. Among other crimes, he ate his own son's brain. Another infamous werewolf was Gilles Garnier. He was burned at the stake in 1573 in France for eating several children alive. In ancient history, the Greeks claimed that a former werewolf once won an Olympic event because being a werewolf had made him so strong. There are 3 types of werewolves. Hereditary werewolves, they run in families because of a curse. Involuntary werewolves, these are people who become werewolves because of misfortune. For example, the illegitimate son of a priest will become a werewolf. Also, someone who survives the bite of a werewolf will become a werewolf. Voluntary werewolves are people who commit atrocities or depravities to become werewolves. For example, one technique: drink rainwater from the footprint of a wolf, eat the raw brains of a wolf, drink blood from the brain of an insane person, and wear a leather shirt made from the skin of a hanged man. And that'll turn you into a werewolf. If you see a wolf in this form, it will always retain its human eyes. To liberate a werewolf, stab his forehead 3 times with a knife. Shooting a werewolf with a silver bullet is nowhere in the legends. That was invented by Universal Pictures in the 1940s. So don't try it. A werewolf may free himself, but he has to tear open a pregnant woman and eat the fetus. If the fetus is male, the curse will be lifted. Vampires, according to legend, a suicide, a sorcerer, the illegitimate child of parents who are themselves illegitimate, and anyone who dies from a vampire bite will become a vampire. It is believed that any woman who dies while nursing will become a vampire. Also, if a witch has sex with the devil, the child will be a vampire. Also, anyone born with red hair is likely to become a vampire. In legend, Judas, Satan, and Cain were redheads. That's why in Eastern Europe, redheads were buried with consecrated communion hosts in the coffin to keep them from walking. There are also reports of vampires running in families. Glamis Castle, near Dundee, Scotland, is the ancestral site of the Strathmore family. According to tradition, Macbeth killed Duncan there. The castle has been called the most haunted site in Scotland. It really has a secret room. I was there. If you count the windows and then rooms, there is a hidden room inside the castle. And according to legend, every so many years, the Strathmore family gives birth to a monster who is kept in prison in the secret room. Curiously, the mother of Queen Elizabeth II was a Strathmore. Her mother married George VI. So they have one now in the current royal family. To make a vampire, one way is to shed human blood on a grave. The body in the grave will become a vampire. To protect yourself from vampires, use holy oil. That's actually oil blessed by a priest. Holy water is not going to work. You want holy oil, that's olive oil. Also garlic flowers, not garlic. In fact, in Sanskrit, garlic, the word for garlic means killer of monsters. In Chinese legend, jade repels vampires. And they also use the willow branch in China to repel vampires. To kill a vampire, stake him to the earth with a wooden stake made from white thorn. Cut off his head and burn the corpse. Now, zombies are probably the most distorted of all these legends. Ignore what you see on television. They are not flesh eaters. And in fact, zombies are people caught in the twilight world between life and death. They do not eat brains and they will not appear to be rotting. A zombie has no mind, soul, and no will of its own. It's literally created by a sorcerer to be a slave. In Haiti, where the zombies are made, they do not fear zombies. They are afraid of being turned into zombies. Zombies themselves are quite harmless. They have blank eyes, slack jaws, speak in a nasal twang, move slowly, have no memory, and they watch CNN. How to make a zombie? There are several ways to make a zombie. One technique is to make zombie powder. By the way, this is actually illegal in the Haitian code, so they take it seriously. The alleged ingredients include ground up human bones, poisonous plants, millipedes, tarantulas, spiders, the skin of a poisoned tree frog, secretions from poisonous cane toads, and 4 types of puffer fish. Blow the zombie powder into the victim's face or add it to his food. The victim will become tired and dizzy. He will feel tingling in his extremities. Gradually, he will become paralyzed. Ultimately, he will appear dead. He may be still conscious, however, but he can't move or speak, and he may witness his own burial. Later, the sorcerer goes to the graveyard and uses a spell to trap the mind of the person in a bottle. The Haitians say we have 2 souls, a life soul and a mind soul. The life soul is kept in place, the mind soul is trapped. Give the victim a second potion that will awaken and enslave him. When he emerges from the coffin, whip him. He will now obey your commands. He will be your slave. To stop a zombie is very easy. If he eats any salt, even 1 grain of salt, his memories will return. He will realize what he is, and he will kill the sorcerer who turned him into a zombie. To keep someone from becoming a zombie, this is still done in Haiti, because they're afraid of this. One method is to sew the mouth of the dead person shut before burial. Another technique, bury him face down with a dagger in his hand. Another technique, with iron nails, nail his body to the bottom of a coffin. Now beware of demons. They like warm and dark places. That's why they like to possess human beings. If a person is possessed by a demon, the ancient Babylonians splattered him with blood from a slaughtered piglet to drive away the demon. To see a demon, the Talmud of the Jews, it says that demons outnumber humans on earth, and if you burn a black cat and place ashes in your eyes, you'll see demons. By the way, according to legend in Jewish lore, the devil invented the cat accidentally. Where to see demons? They like dreary and deserted places. Dark forest, barren moors. They also like places of violence, the site of a gallows, scene of a murder. They're also drawn to crossroads. In legend, by the way, 2 symbolizes Satan, 3 fingers symbolize, or 3 in general, symbolize God. That would be a Trinitarian reference. It's probably rather curious, by the way. This is often used in rock concerts. Strange enough, this can be I love you in sign language, or also you're a Satanist. And I suspect when Bill Clinton uses it, we don't know what it means. But certainly when a hard rocker does it, we know what he's talking about. Now, other safeguards. This is in general. Iron drives away all spirits, good and bad. You've all heard tales of the horseshoes, and people say up means good and down. That's not it. It's the iron itself. The first iron the human worked, is almost certainly humans worked, was from meteorites. So they thought it had supernatural power. Also, the Bible indicates that no iron was used to build the Temple of Solomon. And to this day, when you're initiated into a Masonic lodge, you may not wear metal into the lodge. Now, regarding the end times, according to one sect of Islam, these are the signs of the end times. The Kaaba in Mecca will disappear. The Quran will become blank pages. And those who speak the name of Allah will be murdered. The Antichrist, or man of sin, in legend, is the son of Satan and a harlot. He's the inversion of God, which is the son of God and a virgin. So this will be the son of Satan and a harlot. According to legend, he'll be born in the town of Chorazin, a small town on the Sea of Galilee. In Matthew chapter 11 and in Luke chapter 10, Jesus curses the town. Now today the town is an empty ruin. It has an empty synagogue made of black basalt. To recognize the Antichrist, of course, his number is 666 in most manuscripts, but in some manuscripts his number is 616. As an adult, he will be bald. One of his eyes will be markedly larger than the other, and his left arm will be longer than his right, and he'll be deaf in the right ear. He will speak and walk from birth. He'll be enormously wealthy. According to tradition, every generation buries gold and silver, so when the son of the jackal comes, he'll be wealthy. The hunters of the Antichrist, now this is just reputed. There are stories of a secret Roman Catholic society founded in 1693. It's referred to in the original Omen trilogy of films, Knights of the Apocalypse. They allegedly hunt the Antichrist. Their mission is to look for the signs and then find him while he's still in the cradle and kill him in the cradle while he's still weak. In the traditions, they've done it several times already. In 1994, members of a cult called the Order of the Solar Temple, before committing collective suicide, they killed by driving a wood stake to the heart of a 3-month-old baby named Daniel Emmanuel Dutoit. They claimed this was the Antichrist, and they were killing it to save us before they left. Jerry Janou, who killed the baby, he was convinced that in a previous life he was the Roman soldier who lanced the side of Jesus. And by killing the Antichrist, he was now squaring the problem. Now, black masses are a blasphemous parody of the Roman Catholic Mass. William Seabrook, an American adventurer and writer, claimed he attended black masses in London, Paris, and New York in the 1920s and 30s. He said the function was to restore the power of Lucifer in the world. It's conducted by a renegade priest. This is a real priest who's been expelled because of crimes. The Latin Mass is uttered backward, not just the words backward, but even pronounced backward. The altar holds a naked woman with a chalice of red wine between her breasts. An acolyte dressed in red defiles a host stolen from a church in her genital area during the service. One infamous black mass is the Mass of Saint-Sicaire. Very literally, it's a requiem mass, a mass for the dead. It's said for someone who is still alive. The victim will stop eating, grow thin, spit blood, and die. Even more blasphemous is the Mass du Saint-Esprit. According to satanic legend, it forces God to grant one wish. To see Satan, go at midnight. This reminded me of, you were in the group with was that your group? Years ago? To see, hold the mustard, see? Okay. He was in class years ago, and I was telling him techniques, and they actually tried it like college students. Against college guys did. They said they never saw Satan, but Professor Miller walked in at the time. So, could be a connection. Now, go to Crossroads, kneeling and naked, say the Lord's Prayer backward. Some people have gone insane doing that, so don't try it. Another technique, again, this has been sold in popular films. Look into a mirror, call Satan's name. The mirror should be triangular. Another technique, this is from Abbot Gilbert de Nogent, who lived in the 12th century. Strangely enough, if a man masturbates and eats his own semen, the devil will appear and drag him into hell. Satan, by the way, likes to target innocent girls. He likes to corrupt faithful wives and virgins with long hair. According to tradition, the churches, women who are sexually active outside marriage are never molested by the devil because you're already going to hell. Oddly, the devil's favorite disguises are wealthy gentlemen, a Christian clergyman, and a learned scholar. Angela de la Barth, who was executed in 1275, confessed to a carnal relationship with the devil. She said she had sex with Satan himself. His genitals were the size of a child's arm, and his reproductive fluids were ice cold. She gave birth to a creature, she said, that was half wolf and half snake. It was monstrous in shape, rejected her milk, and she had to keep it alive by feeding it stolen human babies, which it fed on. Ghosts are the malevolent dead. They are people who had violent, painful, or unhappy deaths and remain angry with the living. Plato said we see ghosts that are wicked in life. Good souls, he said, are transparent. Only evil souls are visible. According to some American Indians, however, the ghost is simply a shadow of a soul. Just as living bodies cast shadows, after death, we cast shadows here. To go ghost hunting, never go alone. According to the Aboriginal people of Australia, when a person is alone, a spirit, even of a loved one, after death will become malicious and attack you. They will never, however, attack people in a group. So people are taught among the Aboriginal people, do not go at night alone. If you go ghost hunting, take a candle. According to legend, the candle will burn blue if a spirit is present. Shakespeare mentions this in Richard III. Modern science denies that ghosts exist, but millions of people claim they've seen them. In fact, oddly enough, no one's ever seen an electron, but we believe they exist. England has an estimated 50,000 ghosts. The most haunted place in England is the village of Pluckley in Kent. Ghosts are normally harmless. You should not really be afraid of them, but have pity on them. Although one dangerous ghost, at least group of ghosts, on the ship, the Flying Dutchman. It allegedly sails for eternity with a crew of dead souls. In legend, the captain comes ashore every 100 years to find a woman. Anyone who sees the ship when it appears will die a horrible death. The sea ghost, the best place is where a crime has been committed. A war, a suicide, a murder, SSU's budget, or someplace where a lethal accident has occurred. Guido von List, who died in 1919, said an act of violence impregnates the spot where it was committed. One good place for ghost hunting is the Colosseum in Rome, which, by the way, it covers 48,000 square feet. We estimate that 500,000 people died there, one at a time. That's 10 people for every square foot of arena. Ghosts also thrive in places where strong negative emotions are manifested. If people living in a house have strong fear, anger, or hatred, they increase the chances of a haunting. Oddly, almost all haunting occurs around water, such as a stream or a river or a lake. According to belief, we find it globally, ghosts cannot cross water. That's why they gather there. So this is why Portsmouth is so haunted. We have the Ohio River. To make a house haunted, this is a spell from Haiti. When a person dies, a sorcerer drives 2 nails secretly into a beam of wood where the death took place. The dead person will be trapped in the house and will torment the family. They allegedly do this to reduce the price of the house to buy it. To check if your house is haunted, leave ashes on the floor at night. If the house is haunted, you'll find footprints in the morning. The notion that ghosts are purely immaterial is more, again, a modern notion. Most cultures believe they have an element of physicality to them. To invoke the dead, use the fumes of fresh blood. That's according to Paracelsus, the Renaissance scholar. Animal or human blood attracts spirits. Menstrual blood, animal or human, attracts demons. Another technique, if you name a dead person, as I mentioned before, if his body is not decayed, he will appear. That's why traditionally people used to say when a person just died, may he rest in peace. The may he rest in peace was to keep him in the tomb. Who sees ghosts? Animals, especially dogs, are sensitive to ghosts. In general, ghosts are sensed by dogs. Demons are sensed by cats. Among humans, not everyone can see ghosts. According to Pliny, who wrote in the Roman Empire, people with freckles cannot see ghosts. Children, especially young girls under 12, can see ghosts. If you can actually see him, you may be able to sense his presence. Sense in the house for cold spots, especially with your left hand. Also, be sensitive to odors. Angry ghosts have a stagnant and unpleasant smell. So if you sense go into a house and there's a stagnant and unpleasant smell, you may have a ghost or a boyfriend. Now, in traditional England, in fact, when the English people would see a ghost, the next morning they would immediately start to dig. There was this belief that ghosts will hang around buried treasure. To communicate with ghosts, Carl Jung, the psychologist, said the dead are everywhere among the living, but they can only be addressed if you know the language. Ebenezer Sibley, 18th century occultist, disagreed. He said, only those murdered in horrible circumstances can speak. According to tradition, though, almost everyone agrees here, you must speak first. They cannot communicate with you until you communicate with them. If a ghost replies, be careful. In legend, they always lie. Terrestrial, earthbound spirits are great liars. And there's an old tradition, again from Sibley, the only way to force them to speak the truth is to confine them into a triangle. That's why the historic Ouija boards had triangles on the planchette, although these modern versions, they probably don't know that. But they will have less information than living. If, according to Greek tradition, someone who died in 1955, for example, the only information he has in his head is what he had when he died. So they thought that the living changed constantly, but the dead never change. So if you contact them now, they'll know what 1955, the day they died, happened. If you contact them 10 years from now, the same. According to legend, there's one thing a ghost can never do. He can never laugh with joy. To protect yourself from ghosts, they're afraid of sharp or pointed objects like knives or thorns. Another technique, throw grave earth on the ghost's face. He will instantly obey every one of your commands. To destroy a ghost, you must find its corpse and burn it. According to legend, as long as the skull and 2 leg bones remain, the ghost lives. Another method, dismember the corpse, stick it to the earth, or weigh it down under water. Another technique is to bury it face down in a grave filled with thorns. Nicholas Steinberg, a London murderer who committed suicide in 1834, they were so convinced he'd come back as a ghost, they buried him in the fashion I just described, to keep him in the tomb. Omens of death. A clock chimes unexpectedly between hours. a white flower blooms out of season. A black beetle scrambles over a shoe. You cast a headless shadow on Christmas Eve. Worst of all, if you cannot see your own image in a mirror, that's a death omen. If a man dreams of an old man with a mummified penis, it means he's going to die. In India, if a man dreams he has sexual intercourse with a female ape or the mouth of a virgin girl, he will die. According to a dream book from ancient Rome, a dream about eating books means sudden death, unless the dreamer is a teacher or someone who earns a living from books. Then it brings good fortune. A good omen, if a man, this is from Egypt, if a man dreams himself dead, he will live a long life. If you dream of a tomb in good condition, it means a wedding or a birth. And finally, I'll close with the most infamous of all magical operations, necromancy, that's divination of the dead, is the most dangerous and dubious of all magical pursuits. Those who practice it are at risk of being possessed by the spirit of the dead. The dead are invoked to discover buried treasure or unknown secrets. To awaken the dead, you must prepare yourself for 9 days and 9 nights. You must wear grave clothing stolen from corpses. You must recite a funeral service over yourself. You must live on a diet of dog's flesh and black bread baked without salt or leavening. You must drink the unfermented juice of grapes. After 9 days at midnight, go to a grave. Famous, another mistake, is they don't mean 12 o'clock midnight, they mean middle of the night. So the sun went down at 9, and gets up, rises at 6, you go right in the middle of the night. And you go there at midnight to a grave. A stormy night with wind, rain, and lightning is best. It is difficult for the dead to communicate on a calm night. Draw a circle around the grave. Burn henbane, aloe wood, hemlock, saffron, opium, and mandrake. Open the grave and remove the corpse. Place the head to the east and the arms and legs in the position of Christ crucified. Bring a necromancy bell. That's a bell that's rested on a grave for 7 days and 7 nights. Such a bell has the power to awaken the dead. Touch the corpse 3 times with a wooden wand and command it to rise. 3 times command the corpse to answer questions. Declare to the corpse that it will wander and suffer torments for 21 years if it does not obey. According to legend, the corpse will sit up and answer all questions. The recently dead will answer in a hollow voice. Older, rotting cadavers will speak incoherently. When the rite is completed, reward the deceased by burning the body so he can never be disturbed again. And concluding point, when dealing with the supernatural, remember the words of the Jains, an ancient religion from India. According to the Jains, the wind is known to exist even though it is never seen. Also, in dealing with sorcery, remember the words of Abbot Johann Heidenberg, a Benedictine monk who died in 1516. According to Heidenberg, in magic, it is the practice that is dangerous, not the knowledge. And one final point, this is from the Pacific Islands. I have not revealed all my secrets tonight because according to the Pacific Islanders, on the day a person reveals all his secrets, he dies. So thanks for coming. And by the way, if you're interested in this stuff, I have a website under my name, markmirabello.com. You can actually get a copy from there. So if you want to turn someone into a toad or something, we can talk about it. Thanks for coming. Be sure to take all the food in. I want to thank the Student Programming Board. They did a really good job advertising this time for food. So thank you. Curiosity, is this film